Next story we're going to talk about is Embracer Group is splitting into separate companies. If you guys like what I do here, I cover news stories. We give you my opinions and thoughts. We have conversations with chat live. If you like this, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to go above and beyond it, become a member as little as $5. All right, so Embracer Group is splitting into separate companies. Embracer Group announced that its divisions into 3 standalone companies, each taking with a section of the company's vast video game portfolio. Now, I was trying this morning to go back and try to find the GXG episode we talked about this. I said, everyone's worried about Microsoft consolidating and buying everyone. I said, you should be worried about Embracer Group buying everybody, because then they're going to start selling, okay? Then from that, we knew about the $2 billion deal that didn't happen for them because of the oil bearer in Saudi Arabia, okay? It was a private investor. Fell through, and since then, they started selling people off left and right, and now they're breaking up the company into 3 separate categories, supposedly. All right, so let's read the article. So in the latest step of restructuring, the initiative of Embracer Group has announced that it will be also splitting into 3 different companies. Embracer is a Sweden video game company media conglomerate that got its start in 2011 at a Nordic Gaming Licensing, taking over the intellectual properties of defunct publishers like JWood and THQ. In the years since, the company has also grown into a major presence in the video game space. Beginning in 2019, Embracer ramped up its acquisitions of video game developers and publishers, adding Saber Interactive, Gearbox Entertainment, Aspyr, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and more to its roster. However, just months after it purchased Square Enix Montreal in August of 2022, Embracer shut down several of the developers' mobile games, and shortly after, the studio itself. It was the first of many cut costs and debt reduction measures to Embracer, which also have continued to this day and resulting in layoffs, studios, sales, shutdowns, and project cancellations. Okay. Now Embracer has announced that it's continuing with the restructuring by splitting into 3 separate entities. Okay. Asmo Group, Coffee Stain and Friends, Middle Earth Enterprises and Friends, and these are also the standalone publicly listed companies that also each will also be taking on with its part of Embracer's existing portfolio, though it hasn't been announced exactly where the IPs will be going. So, tabletop game publisher and distribution, that's what Asmodee is going to be in. Coffee Stain and Friends is indie and AA premium and free-to-play games on PC, console, and mobile. I'll talk about that in just a second. And then Middle Earth Enterprises and Friends AAA game developers and publishers for PC and console include The Lord of the Rings and Tomb Raider. Now, the French company focused on board game, card game, and tabletops, was acquired by Embracer in 2021 and rebranded as Twin Sales Interactive in 2022 as an independent company separated from Embracer. Now will continue publishing and distributing the tabletop games right before the acquisition of Embracer. The company also had announced that it's also beginning to license its board games IPs for digital development, and though currently unclear, this will also still be part of Asmodee's plan. Now, let me comment on this a little bit. The reason I think Embracer is splitting up into 3 categories, again, this is just my opinion, okay? This is just my thoughts, okay? It's one of these moments, it's this gut feeling that I have. There's lots of big players out there. Now, if the tabletop publisher and distribution stuff of those board games was condensed into all this other stuff, it would be really hard to sell. Because if Microsoft or Sony or Take-Two wanted to pick these up, they'd be like, well, what are we going to do with these board game things? This is like toss-away things that they're paying money for value, and they're not going to get their value out of it, okay? But if Embracer separates these 3 into separate categories, one being the board game tabletop games, okay, and all the IPs that belong in there, that looks like a really nice purchase for Hasbro or for Wizards of the Coast, right? For another company that's just interested in that type of stuff that might come and pick them up and pull them away, okay? Where Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Take-Two might not like that type of stuff, so they separated it nicely for them to make 3 separate companies, so in my opinion, so they can sell it off. Now, the second one, Coffee Stain and Friends will continue to work on indie AA or AA paid and free-to-play games for multiple platforms, including mobile, through Coffee Stain Group has acquired, but also Embracer in 2018. It retained its independent status, and the company is primarily known for its space dwarf first-person shooter Deep Rock Galactic, zany action game Goat Simulator, and its sequel Goat Simulator 3, but it's also a multiple publishing and developing subsidiary. Okay? Now, this part is interesting because this could 100% go to Xbox. Lots of these games are already on Game Pass. Goat Simulator 1 and 3 are on there. Deep Rock Galactic is on there. This would fit Game Pass nicely. So I could see Microsoft picking these guys up and just fitting them right in. Valheim is part of this as well, inside of the Coffee Stain, right? So there's lots of stuff that they could put and buy and automatically put in Game Pass, which most of these games are on Game Pass. So this would be a good pickup, in my opinion, if they are selling and they are making more acquisitions. Microsoft could pick the AA studios up. They're already implemented on Game Pass, and maybe they put them in there nicely. Now, Middle-earth Enterprises and friends will be focusing on developing and publishing of the AAA games on both PC and console, and this will be taking over the Lord of the Rings Tomb Raider franchise, as well as other currently unnamed intellectual properties. Okay? Now, this one's a big one, because this could be going anywhere. You could put this out there where Sony might pick this up, Microsoft might pick this up, and Take-Two might pick this up. Now, the reason I think Coffee Stain and Friends gets picked up by Microsoft is because of that more of that mobile market, and Microsoft wants to get more of a mobile market hold on that market, so they could pick them up. And I see them buying. I don't really see Take-Two making a purchase for that. I don't really see Sony making a purchase for that. I think Coffee Stain and Friends is definitely going to get picked up by Microsoft. I do think that the tabletop game is going to get picked up by Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, or some other company that's in that space. That's why they're separating the three. This last one is up in the air. This last one's up in the air where Sony can make a purchase and they could pick up the Lord of the Rings Tomb Raider franchise. That would be huge for Sony. This would be huge for anyone to pick this up, okay? Obviously, this is more value if Microsoft picks it up. Tomb Raider was already there. Maybe they bring it back. Who knows, okay? Take-Two, though, is a big portion of here that could also pick this up, right? So this last section here of Middle-earth Enterprises and Friends, this is a toss-up. I don't know who's going to pick it up, but obviously, because it's the bigger names, it all depends on who wants to pick that up. And I think Take-Two is a bigger chunk here that could maybe pick this up. Or I lean more towards Microsoft again, and Microsoft could pick up this and this. But because they separate them, they make themselves opened up where maybe that if Coffee Stain and Friends, Middle-earth Enterprises, and all this was together, it'd be too big of a price tag for other buyers. They're only focusing on that one buyer, which would be a Microsoft and Apple and Amazon. But now that you separate the three, now more people can come in and start bidding on these separate entities inside this. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. What do you think about Embracer Groups breaking these up into three separate categories? Do you think I'm onto something, why they broke it apart that way to lean towards these separate buyers, and Embracer's just out? They just want to be done with the video game industry. Let me know in the comments section down below. Who do you think this could go to? Do you like my picks? Do you not like my picks? Let me know in the comments section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. And if you like what I do here, please make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching.